It seems to me, first of all, from what I understand from doctors, that's really rare. If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
And when it comes to establishing your worldview, I was curious, what newspapers and magazines did you regularly read before you were tapped for this to stay informed and to understand the world?
I've read most of them, again, with a great appreciation for the press, for the media.
But like what ones specifically? I'm curious that you...
all of them, any of them that have...
Can demonic spirits attach themselves to inanimate objects? The answer is yes.
Welcome to Twatwaffle of the Week. So we have some rather bizarre stories for this week. The first three of which highlight the paranoia and stupidity of the Reich. We'll come back to that in a moment. Before we go on, I just want to make this aside. In trying to choose stories to highlight, my one goal, my primary focus, was not just to highlight the mainstream individuals we all know and hear about. Because of my interest, the cast of characters that I have to draw from goes a bit deeper than most individuals interested in such topics. I could say it's a difficult task, the picking and choosing. So, my exclusion of a bit of news doesn't necessarily mean I missed it or thought it unworthy. I just plumb ran out of time. Although, ask anybody at the recent ReasonCon, I could go on about this shit for hours. Another one of my goals I set forth was to note narratives that seem to be ignored by the media. Sometimes, in waiting to see what happens, the story explodes. Case in point, Alex Jones's issues surrounding his custody case. And now the lawsuit by Chobani versus Jones. And that's something I will hit upon a bit later. So, if you think I may have missed something, by all means point it out. Easiest way, Twitter, Dune990. I love getting crazy news from a variety of sources. First up, Rick Joyner. Liberals are hypocrites for not criticizing Mexico's non-existent border wall.
You know, with all this grief that Mexico's been giving us about our immigration, putting up the wall and everything, they put up their own wall along their southern border. Try to immigrate to Mexico right now. I mean, this is such unbelievable hypocrisy. And yet the left, they either are totally blind to the most blatant hypocrisy in my lifetime, or they don't care. They don't consider it hypocrisy as long as it agrees with them politically. I don't know what this is madness.
Seriously, folks, I'm only going to say this about this story. It's not that hard to verify sources. I do it every day. As Right Wing Watch notes, Joyner has a history of making the same mistake over and over again.
Robert McGinnis. Washington, D.C.'s gays and witches corrupt politicians.
This also is from Right Wing Watch. Quote, McGinnis warned that even the most well-intentioned people who go to Washington, D.C. to work in public service are susceptible to the evil forces that he said dominate the city, citing both witchcraft and homosexuality.
And when you look at Washington, you have DuPont Circle's famous for being the center of homosexuality in Washington. You have all sorts of activities down there that are pretty souring. You have a lot of witchcraft. You have a lot of hedonism. You have all the issues that, when I think of Sodom and Gomorrah, I often think of Washington, D.C. in the same thought. And it's unfortunate.
Here's the thing, Robert. You cite Sodom and Gomorrah. So, unless D.C. lacks zinnia or hospitality, you do so incorrectly. Now, I will spare y'all the details, but Sodom and Gomorrah is not about 21st century homosexuality, no matter how hard one tries to pigeonhole it. Included in the notes is a a video by John Corvino. Well, John is a little bit simplistic, but for good reason. The point is very clear. If you are familiar with my work, remember what I always rant about when it comes to exegesis, hermeneutics, and interpretation. You must let the Bible interpret the Bible. Plain and simple. So, our third story, also from Right Wing Watch, is typical Rick Wiles.
Trump has been placed under house arrest by the deep state goon squad.
The gist of his 4-minute rant, quote, Wiles said that O'Reilly's firing from Fox News over numerous sexual harassment allegations and Jones's custody battle are the work of the deep state, which he claimed is out to silence influential voices on the right. Trump, according to Wiles, has also been muzzled by this shadow government, end quote.
Got his Twitter privileges taken away, you think?
I think more than his Twitter privileges. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and say it. This is what I think. I think Donald Trump is under house arrest by the deep state. I think they've put him under house arrest. He's changed. He doesn't even act the same anymore. He doesn't behave the same. He's not the man that we elected. Something's happened to him. I think the shadow government said to him, you were not supposed to win, but you did it. But we're going to allow you to stay in the White House under our terms. And here are the terms. And I honestly believe the man is under house arrest. I believe that they've locked him down. They have isolated him. And he has been surrounded by the deep state goon squad. And they are making the decisions.
Yeah.
And he's got to go along with it. He's got to sign the documents. But he's just a figurehead. I do not believe he's the president of the United States anymore. I believe he's a figurehead.
Wiles is a known loon. How far and influential his reach is kind of an unknown. It's a scary unknown, kind of like Theodore Shubot. You have to listen to what Wiles said. Sexual harassment allegations and Jones's custody battle. These happened. Nobody framed them for their actions. Period. So, that's just some of the cray-cray from the Reich. And it would be a good time to interject a not a twat moment. Maybe. So kudos are in order for Berkeley Energy Group and EDF Renewable Energy. And I am taking this headline at face value.
Kentucky Coal Company to invest in putting an enormous solar farm on a strip mine.
Quote, the Berkeley Energy Group and EDF Renewable Energy say they are setting up plans to build the first large-scale solar project in Appalachia, according to the Courier-Journal. The plans would focus on Pikeville mountaintop removal mining sites and could potentially provide enough space and sun to produce considerably more solar energy than what exists in Kentucky right now. End quote. If this is true, and I have yet to hear otherwise, I believe this would be a good thing. As Einikel notes, quote, the Appalachian region has been hit terribly hard by the dying economics of coal production, and the promise of solar jobs for former coal workers who are now unemployed is a welcome change, end quote. But it's still only the first inning, though a very important inning. It sets the stage. As I mentioned prior, one of the stories making headlines,
Chobani sues Alex Jones, InfoWars, for defamation over Twin Falls assault coverage.
Quote, Chobani, the Greek yogurt maker, is suing Alex Jones, the right-wing conspiracy theorist who says the Sandy Hook Elementary School mass shooting was a hoax. 9/11 was an inside job by the U.S. government, and Chobani imports migrant rapists to Twin Falls. Chobani sued Jones and his InfoWars website on Monday in Idaho District Court in Twin Falls, where the company operates the largest yogurt plant in the world. The lawsuit said Jones, his network, and InfoWars' Twitter feed and YouTube channel repeatedly published false information linking Chobani owner Hamdi Kaya and Twin Falls to a sexual assault case involving refugee children at a Twin Falls apartment complex. Kaya, a Turkish immigrant, has drawn threats for advocating for immigrants and refugees. The company employs more than 300 refugees at its plants in Twin Falls and upstate New York. End quote. As the Chicago Tribune notes, the assault case cited in Jones's report had no connection to Chobani, as they maliciously connected Chobani's willingness to hire refugees to the assault. Our final story in our Twat of the Week, for this edition anyways, comes from the wacky world of medical woo. The following screenshot is taken from a public page with the posting in question set to public as of 2:42 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, April 26, 2017. I want you to look at who the patient is. If you need help, the caption says it all. Quote,
Doc helps patients of all ages, even 6 days old.
End quote. For those of you with audio only, it's a photo from the Mikulski Chiropractic Wellness Center in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, showing a practitioner using what I call a thumper gun on the neck of a 6-day-old infant, while I assume mom is holding said baby. Without going into a huge diatribe concerning chiropractics, I will say this concerning manipulation. It does not work. And it's based on a long debunked notion in medicine, founded upon the work of D.D. Palmer in 1895, and that notion is subluxation, or more specifically known today as chiropractic vertebral subluxation. Now, while physiotherapy, standard PT, is a proven method, and chiro does incorporate such methodology, the cracking of the spine or neck has no basis in medicine. And just to note, orthopedic subluxation is a real thing and is visible on X-ray. Chiropractic vertebral subluxation is not real. To use this methodology on an infant is asinine. To say this therapy, air quotes, is safe is bullshit, as Sam Holmala notes, citing a 2008 paper. Quote, the health claims made by chiropractors with respect to the application of manipulation as a healthcare intervention for pediatric health conditions continue to be supported by only low levels of scientific evidence. Chiropractors continue to treat a wide variety of pediatric health conditions. Taking into consideration this paper was written in 2008, I did a bit of further searching, which produced no properly controlled studies supporting the claims of chiropractors who treat children for organic ailments. Now, there are some caveats. As I said, time will not allow for it. I may do a further report to explain. So there you have it, folks. Our Twat of the Week so far is Mikulski Chiropractic Wellness Center. And now, back to the show.